Well, hello, and welcome to the Real Moms Only podcast, where I am coming to you, Lyette Reback, mother of 16 children. Gosh, every time I say that, I still can't believe it. My children are ages 20 with her own son now, Daly Kay
Oh,
DiNatale.
no, I'm not 20.
Oh, 30.
I'm 30.
They're 30. I'm so sorry.
I know.
Own
I was like,
daughter,
oh, really?
30. Yeah, it just took 10 years
Get
off
to
your life.
live
My own
another-
daughter, 30. Daly Kay, her own son, who is 11 months old.
I know, he's so little.
So cute. And
Almost
then
a year.
aging all the way down to 9, Vaughn, who is my youngest and still affectionately called the baby, even though it drives him nuts. And I'm here coming to you today talking about something that I think all of us will face at one point or another. And the title of this episode, which shall reveal itself in due time, is Finding Your Oxygen Mask. Listen, have you ever been to the point where you are running on fumes? You have this massive to-do list, and it doesn't matter if you get 2, 3, 5, 10 things knocked off that to-do list. Stuff just keeps getting added to the bottom. And your needs as a mom are always coming in last. Well, today we're going to dive into this very real and very raw experience of mom burnout. It is a struggle that I think every mom is going to face at some point. A lot of us really don't know what to do when we get there. Daly Kay, you're new into being a mom, but you have, you've taken on a lot as a new mom. You have a consulting company. You've floated the ideas of a couple of different jobs and opportunities, and
Well, and, the usual, even if I didn't have any of those things, the usual craziness of just being a mom.
Yeah.
And it's just one baby, it's not 16.
Yeah, but I didn't start with 16. I started with 1.
I know.
Yeah.
And it still is just hilarious to me because the burnout can happen to all of us.
Yeah.
At any stage, any number of kids, any age of kids, because you think, oh, well, as it gets older, it's going to get easier. I don't know about that.
No, I hate to say this, and I know you've heard me say it 100 times, but the old Navy SEAL ethos is actually true. In parenting, the only easy day was yesterday. And I'm sorry to say that to those of you who had a horrible day yesterday. I'm really sorry if yesterday was terrible. I don't mean to beat you over the head with a very big stick, but the truth is it only gets more challenging parenting from here. So
what are some of the things that mom burnout, what is mom burnout?
Okay, so it is definitely more than just being tired. Everybody gets tired at the end of the day. This is what we're talking about as a very emotional and mental drain. I tend to call it ping pong rabbit. When my brain is so fried, it just feels like there's this rabbit going back and forth in my brain and I can't even think or make one more decision. I feel
that seems to also be the time where everybody needs the most decisions.
Yeah, all those decisions have to be made right now. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling very alone. I have a wonderful husband, an incredible life partner, but for whatever reason, I'm in this phase, I'm in a burnout thing where I feel completely, totally alone or neglected as we're caring for everybody else. And you've got to be careful here because this can very quickly build some resentment, right?
Right.
You're busy taking care of everybody else's needs. You feel alone. Nobody's asking you, Mom, you okay? Mom, how was your day? Mom, how's the thing that's really important in your life going right now?
Definitely don't get how was your day.
No, nobody ever asked. I can't remember the last time. Actually, that's not true. I have one son who does actually
He does ask
me,
that. So
how was my day? He's the only one out of 16, so it doesn't happen very often. If you don't have any of those, don't feel bad. It took me 12 kids to get to that one. So
right.
I want you to also know that this mom burnout, this can actually move into real physical pain. Okay. Maybe you're struggling with headaches. Maybe you have this funny hip thing that happens. That happens to me. It can manifest. I can notice it sometimes my hands get itchy and burny. I feel like it's a reaction to some stress, some overwhelmingness. And what I want to say to you is remember all those times you've gotten on the flight and you didn't pay attention to what they were saying to you in terms of safety and direction. But the flight attendant says, if you are traveling with small children, put your oxygen mask on first. Put yours on first. Why? Because you can't really take care of the kid next to you till your brain's working properly.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why we're calling this episode Finding Your Oxygen Mask, because I really want to come at you telling you I understand what this feels like. I've been here more than a number of times. And this is really about breaking the stigma or the shame or the embarrassment about any of these types of real feelings and challenges that you're facing as a mom, and acknowledging that there is a struggle. And I have, over the last 30 years, learned some practical ways to climb my way out of those challenges and try and regain some sanity, some semblance of order.
Yeah, I'm not asking for much. I'm not looking for perfection. I just want a little bit of sanity. Like, what is it? What are some of the ways to feel like you have oxygen flowing in that mask?
Okay, so here's the thing. First, I'm going to say this. I know I've said this multiple times, but I am very fortunate that I started this parenting journey before social media really even existed. When you were born, the internet was barely a thing. I'd never used email when you were a baby. This was a new thing. So you ladies who have much younger children than I do, you have grown up parenting with everybody's opinion and everybody's photos and everybody's perfection in your face all the time. This myth of being a supermom is exactly that. It's a total myth.
Yeah.
It's a total myth. I often tell my kids, remind myself that life is kind of like riding on a bicycle. So if you've got like 6, 7, 8, 10 spokes in your life, you've got your financial and your physical health and your family life and your professional life and your education. All these things are spokes on your wheel. It's always a bumpy ride. Some spoke is always out of whack. You can have 5, 6, 7 of them going the right direction, and one is just way.
There's no such thing as a supermom.
So you have to understand that supermom is a myth. Listen, you want to share on social media your pretty Easter pictures.
Yeah, I love doing that. I did that just this year.
You want to say, Junior won his T-ball championship, or, my son got into his dream college. All those things are great. But what I want all of you to recognize, realize, and understand is in every single one of those pictures, in every single one of those families, yes, Junior got into his favorite college, and sure, this kid's doing great at T-ball, but there's something else in their life out of whack. So don't just take their snapshots, their perfection, and think, well, my life stinks because, we're $50,000 in debt and I don't know how we're going to get out of this, or whatever, whatever the problem is, whatever this thing that's really creeping to the top, causing you to feel this burnout. Do not let this supermom myth steal your joy of the things that are going right, going well in your life. This will set you up for feeling inadequate. And it will put the gas pedal to the metal on feeling this burnout. So first, realize there is no such thing as supermom.
I feel like every mom is just trying their best every single day.
Yeah, they are. They are. Absolutely. And their best may look fantastic.
My best looks very different depending on what time of the month it is.
Right. Very true. We can also acknowledge that we have our lovely hormonal changes to thank for some of these issues. But I want you to learn too that burnout is different than tiredness. Okay. So burnout isn't just being tired. This is an emotional exhaustion. It can cause you to detach from parenting. Like I've done everything I can do, and these fruitcakes will still not, my ducks will not get in a line. One of my dearest friends, Amanda, texted me one time, and I still remember it. She goes, I don't have ducks to get in a row. I have squirrels and they're drunk. And I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard, because it's true. Like sometimes it feels like you're trying to organize a bunch of drunk squirrels.
Yes.
And so, when you're in this stage circling the drain of burnout, you're feeling completely ineffective. And the reason I want to caution you about this is it can step into anxiety. It can step into depression. So don't ignore this. It's easy to fall into, especially if you're in the middle of, let's say you've got 3 little kids.
Oh, yeah.
They're constantly pulling on you. Somebody's always whining. Somebody's always
the
pooped
dog
their
wants
pants.
to be petted.
The kids are sick for an extended period of time. Something, let's face it, sometimes life happens in a way that we didn't expect. Maybe we've got a child facing cancer. Maybe we've got a husband with a serious health issue, something like that. And so that can easily happen in some of those big stressful times. You could be in the middle of a tough preteen or teen time. I have a dear friend of mine sharing all kinds of different challenges she's facing with her daughter, and she's got younger children to take care of. And she's just like, I can't. I'm barely.
That's a huge mode to switch in between.
Barely hanging on, or what if you have a new baby in the middle of the school year? And you've got preteen hormones going on, or you have a young toddler who's, going through a tough phase and not sleeping well, and a teenager giving you you're
Oh my
running for your
gosh.
money, you know. Um, all of these things can lead you right into a season of burnout that is quite challenging. So um, I want you to understand that it's normal. We will feel guilty. Sometimes we will feel selfish
Yeah.
for prioritizing ourselves. This should not be the case. When you're a mom, you know, I remind everyone, you know, in our family, there's a set of priorities, right? There's 15 things that have to get done today, and I'm going to prioritize who's gets what's, and I'm going to tell you, in the last 30 years, my stuff has often fallen to the bottom of that list, and that can get really frustrating.
Yeah.
It
And
can,
I mean, I laugh a little bit just because I was just thinking about the difference in the morning routine for myself versus my husband.
oh yeah,
You know, my
Key.
husband wakes up, it's a bright new day. He goes to the bathroom, gets to brush his teeth, wash his face, get dressed, comes out. There's breakfast ready, there's a coffee, the kid's happy, kid's eating breakfast. It's a dream.
Yeah, he didn't realize the 45 minutes it
I
took
get
you
to
to
eat
get
breakfast probably by 10:30 when the baby goes down for a nap because I forgot to make it because I made everybody else, and then I made sure the dishes were put away and all this other stuff. And like, that's a silly example of a routine, but I just started saying on Saturdays, I'm out. You're in charge of the baby. I'm going for a run.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
So that was
that's
a
an
way
example.
that you prioritize,
And
though.
that's not even close to like real burnout or
No,
anything
but
like
you're
that. I'm just saying,
expressing
like,
that you
I just took it.
you came last.
Oh
But
yeah.
then in this one sense, you're going to take
Me too.
you're going to take a preemptive measure
Yep.
to make sure that in some way you have something to look forward to in the week.
For sure.
And so here's the deal.
Yeah.
This is a practical step. This is a way for you
we have
to
lots of practical
look
steps.
forward to something and your well-being. Listen, Mom, do not feel guilty or selfish for putting your priority, you know, towards the top of the list, because honestly, your well-being affects everybody.
Yeah. A lot deeper
Everybody.
than you realize.
Everybody.
And those moods that you can have definitely can spill over not just in your own life into your interactions, but you'll see that your children start taking on those moods and your husband starts taking on those moods. And then it's just like a whole festered family of
It's a thing.
frustration. And you're like, whoa, where did all this come from?
Yeah.
And it actually came from you.
It came
You know,
from
great.
came from me lots of times. I can see that for sure. So, practical steps. What are some practical steps to help
Find that
avoid
oxygen
this,
mask.
or find your oxygen mask and climb your way out of this pit? Okay. One thing, let go of perfectionism. It might mean you have to detach from social media so you can stop holding on to that. You know, I lost my phone this year at the beginning of the year for about 4 days. My whole everything changed
Oh, that's
in those 4 days. And when my husband found it and brought it back to me, I was like, honestly, can we just leave it over there for a bit? You know, because
No
I
rush
realized
to get it back.
yeah, because I realized it had built up this, you know, go, get it done. When I didn't have the phone, I had my own tempo. People couldn't interrupt me when I was reading
Oh,
to
that's
the
nice.
youngest one. People couldn't demand of me something right now. I didn't know they were demanding it of me. I
No.
was busy doing what I was supposed to be doing. But I want you to know, let go of that perfectionism. It's okay if your house isn't spotless and your dinner isn't perfect and you're, you know, you've got other things. Listen, if you're prioritizing what you need to be prioritizing, sometimes things have to fall by the wayside, and that's fine.
Yeah.
To lower those expectations. And like I said, if that takes you unplugging from social media, then by all means do it. Set boundaries. You have to learn to say no to the non-essential commitments to protect your own self. Maybe you need to say no to yourself.
I have to do that probably once a week. Maybe
How
even
so?
a little bit more.
How so?
So, okay, we'll just bring up the subject of dinner because I love to cook. I love to cook. I will cook everything and anything. And I like to, there's my 5-minute versions that cook for 2 or 3 hours by itself untouched. And then there's the ones where, you know, you pound the chicken breast and you bread it and you make the whole thing and it's delicious and it looks like it could be in a restaurant. It's amazing.
You're good.
That's great. But, you know, that's like, before a baby, it was so much simpler to have, even with working full-time and side jobs and stuff, that I still had an hour to cook in the evenings because Dave would eat like close to 8 or 9. Like, so I wasn't cooking at 5.
Yeah.
It's very different with a little guy that has to eat a couple times a day and different things. So my saying no to myself in the smallest section was like, okay, what's the requirement to pass?
Yeah.
We're doing pass fail. We're not doing grades 0 to 100 anymore.
Yeah.
Where I used to be able to make A+ stuff all the time because I had more energy and time. Okay, well, I'm not going for like, a C, but I'm now going for a C because it's like pass fail. It's a 1 point difference between a pass and a fail. What can we get done that'll get the job done and feed everybody and be good?
Yeah.
Might not be 5 stars, but it'll be good and it'll be filling and tasty and still meet our health. It's more like, instead of saying, okay, I want 100% ready to go, I'm going to go to doing the best. What else? Maybe I need to actually give him more snuggles, the little baby, today, instead of work really hard on a meal for it to be really great that the baby doesn't care because he throws half of it anyway. Yeah. So it's like, reinvesting your time and setting boundaries for yourself is really important.
Knowing when's good enough.
Yeah. And that's a low stakes example, if you will.
I look back when you guys were little, and I think to myself, there were lots of times that I was very worked up about things that in the scheme of it all didn't matter. And in the scheme of it all, probably, you don't remember, you're not feeling the effect of that mistake that I remember making, but I do remember that it would steal joy from that section of my life. And boy, what I wouldn't give to go back to just one normal day when you guys were little and really enjoy it, because it is a fallacy that it will be easier. It will be, all these things when they're older. Boy, those little days when your biggest problem is a skin knee, or those little days when,
they didn't eat the chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
That you made.
Yeah. The thing is, know when it's good enough to move on, so that these things that you might be making mountains out of molehills do not steal a moment of your joy with your family. Especially
the little problems.
The little problems.
Problems.
Here's the thing. Something I've learned from serving Gold Star families, which we do with our foundation, Believe With Me, is that, you don't know when your life could drastically, tragically change. So enjoy every moment, because, you don't know. And I don't say that to scare you, but I say that to put things into perspective. So set boundaries. When is it good enough? Second, ask for help. Reach out to your family, your friends, reach out to your partner, because here's the thing. They don't know what you haven't said.
Dave is a terrible psychic.
Yeah, I always say that. I always say I'm a good mother, but I'm a terrible psychic, because the children automatically assume I know exactly what they're frustrated about in their brains. But the truth is, your partner has no idea. And a few times in our marriage of now 32 years or something, David's heard this tone in my voice that sends a chill down his spine, makes him like, whoa, she is upset.
He just starts cleaning.
He starts cleaning, does whatever he can, because he realizes she's at a breaking point. And really, that's on me to have gotten to that point, because I didn't ask for help ahead of time and go, hey, listen, I'm drowning over here. Or, hey, listen, I'm really struggling with this issue.
I started doing like preemptive warnings.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not like, it's like, all right, we're not at a code red just yet, but we're getting there, and it's
kind of orange.
If you don't do, or if you don't XYZ, it's going to be bad. Yeah. And it's like an hour beforehand, and it provides ample warning. To start helping in a certain way, or we need to do this, that, or the other in order to, get to church on time. Yes. As an example, Easter church, It
was difficult.
Yeah, it was a difficult one.
I use, with a military background, I use the code DEFCON.
Oh, that's so cute.
This is DEFCON 3 now, folks, and you really don't want to hit 4 and 5 as nuclear. So I try to give, you're right, that is a great tool in asking for help. I'm going to tell you, scheduling time for yourself. Now, listen, it doesn't have to be hours at a time. It's lovely if you can get to the gym. It's fantastic if you can go and get your nails done. But even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, it can be something that you look forward to each day. I remember in high stress times, when my brain was ping-ponging back and forth and I was very overwhelmed with lots of different circumstances, I would think to myself, just make it to 2:00 and then you can have your coffee. It was simple. It was something that I could look forward to.
Tiny rewards.
I would take a short walk just around the block. Just around the block, a little bit of sunshine. I could get somewhere. The
walk is a really good one too, because if you have young children,
mm-hmm.
putting them all in the jogger or the stroller and getting outside. I saw a post, somebody posted, I will have to repost it. It was like, I'm no parenting expert, but I'm pretty sure the walking outside is the parenting equivalent of, did you try unplugging it and plugging it back in?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I just feel like a change in atmosphere immediately helps.
Yes, it does.
You see the sky, maybe you sweat.
Yeah.
It's just that short little walk can be so much. And if you have like a little earpod, you put it in, listen to like 2 seconds of calming music or a podcast. Maybe our podcast.
It's a treat. Yeah, maybe our podcast. It's a treat. It's a treat. I'm going to say connecting with others. Listen, where you can really get into challenges with this burnout, overwhelming, stepping into dangerous issues that might be including, anxiety or depression, is when you have accidentally disconnected from community. What can you do? You can join online mom communities. That's one thing, but nothing benefits you like a face-to-face, someone who will hug, someone who will listen, maybe someone who will pray with you. There are lots of mom communities at churches. There are support groups, a trusted friend who gets it. Connection.
Face-to-face connection. I think there's a good distinction in that, because when I first was pregnant with baby Dave, I was like, oh my goodness, all of my friends, they're either, still dating somebody or single, or no, there's not a lot of mom friends.
Yeah, you needed to make that.
It's interesting, because I joined an app to try to find other moms in the area, and I actually did find like 3 or 4 moms that I still hang out with semi-regular. Work's been a little crazy, but and they're wonderful. But it was very interesting to me, because there was also that side of the app where it was like a posting challenges or posting, questions type stuff. And I would read that. And I didn't realize there's so many things that were happening in other people's lives that all of a sudden I was thinking about. And it was structured in a way where these moms were venting. They're trying to find community. They're trying to find solutions. But I don't even know these people, and I'm reading all their problems, and I'm taking them on, and I'm emotionally thinking about those problems in a way that it was becoming kind of like a echo chamber or a wine fest.
Okay, so this is a big deal.
So like the face-to-face is so different than online. I really would recommend face-to-face more.
Yeah, like our church has a group called Mom to Mom, and I've spoken there a few times. You've been a few times.
Yeah.
That group is amazing, because these are moms all with little bitty babies up to like maybe 6, 7, 8, 9. At least most of them have somebody 8 and under.
Yeah.
They might have older kids, but they're trying to connect. And then it's been a great group, because there's a lot of moms who their kids are grown and flown, and these moms are pouring back into these younger moms. That's an really incredible community. But what I'm going to say is I really, 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 really want to caution you that whatever group you join, okay, I'm going to be very, very honest with you here. This cannot be a group that is dedicated solely to bitching.
There's a lot of those.
We cannot do that.
But it's an accident thing. You don't really intentionally
You want to be very careful, because you will miss the joy that is right in front of you if you're surrounding yourself by ladies who are constantly whining and complaining about parenthood or their partner or their work or whatever. And then the other thing I'm going to really, 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 really super caution you about is that the groups you join are not echo chambers. Look.
What do you mean by echo?
So there's thousands of flavors of parenting now. Now there might always have been. I was just blissfully unaware until maybe you guys were like 10, 12, something like that, you older girls.
There's a lot of flavors.
Now there's totally crunchy moms, fantastic. There's totally political moms, fantastic. There's totally working moms, and there's totally there's probably 9,000 other, there's the breastfeeding thing, there's the, only organic thing. Look, here's the thing. All of this is lovely, and you should listen to a modicum of everyone's differing opinions because you're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to go, I never thought about that. You know, you have taught me something today. Did not even know this was a stance that someone was taking. Okay, great. You know, but the reason I want to say you want to make sure it's not an echo chamber is that's where things can get kind of dangerous in such a way that as a parent, you are making a stand on something that has zero bearing.
Like it's very important to the entire group that you do this one thing.
Yes.
But you're not diversifying your parenting.
Yes. Okay.
You know,
here's a
inputs.
Here's probably a timeless one that I accidentally fell into when you girls were little.
Okay.
Probably timeless. The age-old debate about breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. Okay.
Oh my goodness. So we're gonna get canceled. Just kidding.
We probably will. But here's the thing: when you guys were little, I really was dedicated to breastfeeding. I was pretty sure that that's how all of my children were going to get into Harvard. And not that Harvard is the gold standard, but at the time when it's a newborn, this is what mattered. And yes, I was that type of parent. It is one of those
big decisions
that thought, you know, every decision is going to lead to this culmination of ultimate success in parenting. Okay, I now know there is no such thing as ultimate success in parenting because survival is the game and everything above that is a win. And let's be real, some of us are going to be great parents and we're going to lose children to drug addictions, or we're going to lose children to car accidents, or we're going to lose children to cancer. So really, I can't even say survival is winning the game. The point I'm making is I was convinced that breastfeeding was and here's
and it's one of the first decisions
it's the first and one of the most biggest decisions you're going to make. Now I'm going to say, you know, when you were little, vaccinations were a given. I know all that's on the table now, and I ain't stepping in that pile of crap. But what I'm saying is
so still undecided over here.
What I'm saying is breastfeeding was a big deal, and I was convinced that that was the thing. And you know what? I learned relatively quickly almost anything that I held on to that tightly as the paragon of perfection in my parenting was going to teach me very quickly how humbled I needed to be, because sometimes breastfeeding works out beautifully.
Yeah.
Like some of my kids I nursed for more than a year. And sometimes it is a literal 7 stages of hell. And it is leading me down a very dark and depressed path of my child is not thriving. My body is not doing its job. I can't make this any better.
You're not sleeping. You're not eating.
All kinds of terrible things. So the point I'm making is anytime you get into an echo chamber, and that's kind of accidentally what I had done, I'd gotten into this echo chamber of friends that all parroted that this was the most important thing in parenting. And I even had an older lady that I love and really look up to, but a few of them were like, listen, no matter what, you must breastfeed. And the truth is,
I didn't think you could for me because I had all the ties and we didn't know about that.
I did for like 4 or 5 months, but with the second child, it was just a few days. Things weren't going well. The point I'm making is I listened to only one viewpoint. Yeah. And how much healthier it would have been if I would have had a few more friends from a few different backgrounds that would have said, hey, listen, let me tell you something. This kid isn't going to even remember whether you nursed or not. No. You're making this big deal and you're losing your mind and you're losing joy with this new baby stressing out over something that is literally pop the bottle, stick a nipple on and be done. You know, so
and not to say the breastfeeding doesn't have benefits for everybody.
It does. But the point I'm making is these echo chambers are dangerous and you have to be open and willing to continue to make friends with different viewpoints just so that you can always
age children
and different age children. Yeah.
Like you were saying, I think in one of the groups that you spoke to, I can't remember, but you said something along the lines of, you know, this is the biggest problem that this one lady was sharing. Like, this is the biggest challenge I've ever had. Her son was 8, said a bad word at school or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my goodness, you know, that's a big deal for the Christian circle that you're in. But let me just tell you, on the scale of global parenting problems, that's like a 0.
Yeah.
You know,
this is not even DEFCON 1.
I mean, if your kid had been caught selling drugs at 8 at school, I mean, that's a different scenario. That does happen to some people. Okay.
And we have problems.
We
that
don't,
would be a big
that's
problem.
not even close to the same. Yeah. So it was like
having
if
another
you're too
friend
close in one circle like that, sometimes it can feel like you just committed a cardinal sin because your kid said the F word, you know, or something. Yeah. And
it wasn't.
It's just not. Yeah. Like, okay,
so
it's going to survive.
And there could come a time when you do need to seek professional help. That is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. I want you to understand that. Anybody worth their weight in salt will tell you, if you need professional help, go find it. It's not weakness. It's strength. So next, I want to encourage you biblically. You are not alone in your struggles as a mom. Psalm 55, verse 22 tells us that we are to cast our cares on the Lord, for he will sustain you. Another verse in the New Testament says, because he cares for us. Your feelings that you are facing, these challenges, they are valid, and it is okay to seek him, to ask him, and to really look and listen for an answer. And I'm going to tell you that sometimes my prayers have been a very tear-filled help.
Right.
That's all I got. Sometimes my prayers, and I'm sorry if this is completely blasphemous, I just apologize in advance, but sometimes my prayers have had a lot of bad words in them, and they have been very angry and frustrated. But one thing I tried really hard to always do was not disconnect. No matter how angry or hurt I was, I tried to stay connected to God.
Because if you think that God can't handle the emotions that he programmed you for in the first place, that's just such a fallacy.
Well, it taught me something when I had preteen and teenagers, that sometimes they may love me very much, but they might also get very angry. And they might also say things in a way that I wish they hadn't, but that did not change how I love for them. So it made me a little bit freer to pray in such a way that I was like, I am really, really mad right now, and I don't know how or why you let this happen. Whatever my prayer might have been, but I'm just being honest with you that it's okay to have these struggles, and he can handle your naughtiest prayer, your most sincere request for help.
It's so true.
And there were times where I was so scared and heartbroken and overwhelmed that even though I didn't have any answers, in that most tear-felt prayer where I'm absolutely snottily losing my brain, crying into a pillow, I totally felt like God was like, I know this does really stink. And I didn't have any answers, but I did keep going to him. He will sustain you. So next, I want to tell you something else. There is real strength in rest. So Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 says, come to me, all you who are weary, laden, and I will give you rest. It's one of my favorite verses, especially when I was pregnant, because I always felt very weary and very heavy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Having only done that once, I can tell you that is very true.
Yes. And I loved that verse because it says, I will give you rest. You have to prioritize your mental health, and doing so aligns with God's call to find rest in him. I remember one time a pastor saying, sometimes the most holy thing you can do is go to bed, is take a nap.
That's so cute.
Hit the reset button. Because here's what I have also learned over the last 32 years. Those problems are still going to be there in the morning.
That is very true. It's not like they'll go away overnight, but if you just so as an athlete, somebody that works out, okay, you cannot train every single day your hardest.
No.
For 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's impossible. Yeah. There is actually a calculation or recommendations for what type of rest you need to take in order to handle the next workout, which is building upon itself at max capacity.
To perform.
Right? So to perform better, and there's been studies done, I'm not going to be able to link them, but there has been studies done that showcase people that rest are able to perform better because they are prepared.
They're prepared.
Your body's actually prepared. So sometimes your issue can really be you've just been not allowing yourself to rest, because that's also a thing too, where you decide, no, I'm just going to keep going. I can't take a break because the problem's not solved. I can't take a break because I haven't fixed the problem. Well, you're telling yourself you have to fix the problem. You're not saying that God will help you fix the problem. So, and then you're not resting in that.
So here's another thing. This strength and rest, facing your problems with a fresh mind and a stronger heart, will make you better at it. And I will tell you this. You can sometimes look at this overwhelming problem. Maybe you're feeling a mom burnout. Maybe you're overwhelmed, and it's this one or two set of circumstances that are contributing to it. You will not come up with the whole answer in 5 minutes. I mean, I know sometimes our husbands or our partners expect us to. It doesn't really work.
Or maybe they have the answers already.
They might. Yes, I did not had that experience. But the truth is that even what I like to say is, I have not solved the whole pie of the problem, but I've come up with a slice.
Right.
And today that's good enough. And then I will look at my husband from time to time and I will just say, I am tapping out. I'm done. I'm going to bed. And he'll say, bed? Yep, bed. I'm done. I have nothing left to give. Nothing's in the tank. I've got to go to bed. Or the next person that you're going to meet isn't going to be a version of mom that anybody likes. So she's going to make
It will
that.
not help with the problem.
It's not going to help. It's going to make it worse. And I'm going to tell you that in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 and 10, the power of support. 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls, one can help the other up. Community, leaning on others who understand. This is an important facet that I've learned. But I'm going to tell you that this is part of why we started Real Moms Only, is in an effort to be real and to be vulnerable. This is what it takes to make real connection. So if you're falling into the trap of feeling overwhelmed or burnt out because of perfection, because of social media, disconnect from that. Learn to reveal a little bit more authentic piece of who you are and your struggles in finding community. Make a friend and try being vulnerable and asking for help and support.
You have to.
Listen, burnout is real. It's more than fatigue. It is a mental and an emotional drain that needs your attention.
You just can't keep powering through, because that doesn't really help.
Not if you're already in that. Your mental health matters. You have to prioritize things in your life. And sometimes the thing that needs to creep a little bit closer to the top of the priority is yourself. That's not being selfish. You know, if you're captaining that ship, it's not going to do the ship any darn good if the captain is losing his mind. So you've got to do this for vital for you and your family. You're going to be facing mutiny.
Yeah.
It's going to be mutiny out there. I know that. I've been there. And listen, these small steps, they count. Even tiny acts of self-care, taking a walk, getting your nails done, changes my whole life.
Asking your husband to put the kids to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Giving over a section of something that at that point of the day, you're not making it through that point of the day. Ask for help in that section. And it is completely normal to find professional help when needed. If connecting with other moms isn't doing it, if moving your priorities around isn't doing it, if you're not getting enough headway when you're seeking God and asking for help, and you're really, really trying to climb out of this pit of burnout, you might need professional help. And there is nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to ask you, listen, I'm going to ask you to share your story or comments on social media. You can message us. You can, these can be private messages. You can put it out there on social media. And if you found this helpful in the slightest, sharing it, letting other moms know, hey, that might be a signal to some other ladies to reach out. If somebody tells you, hey, thanks for sharing that, it helps.
Maybe there's a friend that came to mind that you're thinking, oh my goodness, I haven't checked up on this friend. You know, they just had a new baby, or they just had a big life change. You know, definitely check up on them. And then share this podcast as well, because we want to reach as many moms as possible. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Every mom has so much responsibility as someone that kind of is the neck of the household, right? Turning the head and everything that we need to do along the way. It's like, just don't, if somebody's coming to mind while we're talking about all this, definitely connect with them. Take it as your sign to reach out, because
maybe share the podcast with them. See if it helps at all. And as always, listen, parenting is not for wimps. Nobody gets through motherhood unscathed. And if you have friends who are seeming unscathed, they're just better at hiding it. It's like everybody says, Lyette, your skin is so wonderful. No, it's not. It's just my foundation. I'm better at hiding it. So listen, but when it comes to parenting, let's not get better at hiding it. Let's get better at finding community, finding friends. And that is the hope of this community with Real Moms Only, that we will be able to build a community of mothers who will encourage one another, lift each other up. I've been at this job for 30 years. You are 30. I now have a grandson. I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers, but there's probably very little that someone could say to me that I haven't been through something as serious, as challenging, or at least be able to have compassion on. So this is Lyette Reback signing off and thanking you for listening and sharing the podcast of Real Moms Only.